And I see this a lot in the soccer community, this obsession with ladder drills and the agility rings, and they're still in that slouched over position that they're always spending time in. So, do you want to just like get into why that's not ideal when we really want to develop speed for soccer players?
So the big thing is those kind of drills and stuff make you feel like you're doing something, but you're not going anywhere. I've seen a lot of people who can do the cha-cha and shake and wiggle and do all that kind of stuff. And that's great for the club, that's great for homecoming, maybe great for prom when you're trying to show off fancy footwork, but that isn't going to help you beat Usain Bolt. That isn't going to help you to create space on Messi, who might not be as big or as fast or as strong as you. And that's the one way you might be able to get an advantage over that guy. And so I always look at it, and again, my soccer background is much more limited than my American football background or basketball or track and field, where I've spent a lot of my time either as an athlete or as a coach or whatever. And what I find it is to be more like this idea of compression and extension. So it's nice to do those things. It's nice to have footwork drills. It's nice to be able to move the ball around. It's nice to be able to do that. But that's different than us trying to raise the floor of your absolute speed. So if you're wanting to raise the floor of absolute speed, then you got to go do that task at its most maximum frequently because it's a central nervous thing. So every, 48 to 72 hours, something maximal should be happening. But also, the sport of soccer requires you to not run at max speed, but be at a relatively quick clip for extended periods of time. So that idea of, hey, we want to be really good at a flying 10, flying 20 with good mechanics, as I talked about earlier. Yes. Do we want to have a special session to improve our mechanics? Yes. Does that have to happen every day? No. But it should show up every 48 to 72 hours. Those things should be built around the other technical things that you have to do, footwork, timing, plays, short-sighted games, right? Things like that have to happen in soccer as well. So in soccer, you have a short-sighted game. We spend a lot of time of that because of the culture of futsal and putting touch on the ball repetitively, right? Repeatedly, wanting that over and over and over again. So we increase the number of touches to improve that skill set. That's great. But then also you need to be playing with an extension where you're playing on a full side because that's how the game is played. That's the sport. And the athletes need to know how to deal with that, where they need to know how to put a touch on the ball where it's 30 yards down the field. You need to know how to do that too. It's the same thing for running. You have to have timing where you're doing some agility work, doing some short side speed, but that needs to be balanced with actual sprinting and then actual longer intervals as well, which I am a believer in. I don't think as a football player or soccer player that you need to be running repeat 800s, 600s, 400s, but you may need to see some 150s. You may need to see some 200s, and those don't necessarily need to be short. Can they be hundreds on the minute? Sure, you could do that, if you're doing some tempo work. But should you be doing tempo work all the time? No. But should it show up every 48 to 72 hours if you're training 6 days a week and playing as well? Probably. And that's the idea of that a lot of people go so hard because we're so built to be binary in our thinking, this or this. Instead, it's this, and this at a particular time. So it's not like when people are like, well, I want to get faster. Okay, well, that's the what. That's easy to know. The how is the challenge, and how do you organize it? And so, as coaches, we need to think about, well, what fits in my practice sessions? When can I honor this? And when can I make sure this is going to happen so my athlete can get better under fatigue, where they're tired and they can still run with good mechanics? My athlete can get better overall at their freshest technically so that their posture can be improved. The athlete can get faster maximally when they need the central nervous system at their best. And so, as a coach, figure out where that matches up in your practice and put it there, and then build around that all of the other truly soccer related touch strategy and components that you need to be a good player.